To start off with, we've got Dhruv Agarwala from the CEO of REA India, and it's going to be about building the market leader in India.
Thanks, Simon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's great to see you again.
Thank you. Likewise. Good evening, everyone. I think I was here last 6 years ago, so good to be back. Thanks for having me back, Simon. Oops. Okay, great. Okay, I think, a lot of you hear a lot about India these days, just given what's happening in the market. But I just thought I'd share some data points, a few data points which will sort of inform you in terms of how we look at our market, just given what's happening at a basic sort of digital infrastructure level. So one is, smartphone penetration. I mean, if you just look at 2017, it was only 22%, and it's already gone ahead and it's crossed 50%, expected to go to 70% over the next couple of years. Second big thing which is happening in India is that the cost of data is amongst the lowest in the world. It's come down significantly, which has led to data usage per subscriber per month dramatically in the last 5 to 6 years. And what's happening as a result is, since more and more people are spending time online, advertising is moving increasingly quicker from offline media to digital media. So that's a big change which is happening, which I think has been fundamentally driven by smartphone penetration as well as data costs coming down, which is great for a business like ours. If you look at the opportunity, we've tried to size the market here in terms of, what sort of an addressable market for us. The data in India is somewhat sketchy in terms of what the exact sizes are. We've sort of done our best to estimate what the size looks like. So we've sort of looked at our addressable market and said it's, it's close to about 9 billion Australian dollars. We obviously talk in Australian dollars given that we're owned by an Australian company. So the core sort of agent business is about, or agent commission pool is about 6 billion. Adjacencies such as mortgage and other peripheral services around real estate is about 1.4 billion. But the real estate advertising market is another 1.4 billion. Out of which, I think the thing to note is that the classifieds is only about 185 million, while social search and other digital is about 525 million. So like in many geographies, you would see that social is taking away share from portals. In the Indian market, actually social and search have in some way or the other leapfrogged the portals. So in fact, when we look at competition sometimes, it's not just other portals, but it's also social giants such as Meta as well as search giants like Google. However, I think the good news is that the market will continue to grow. Property prices are going up, and by 2030, India will become the third largest market in the world for real estate. More and more property transactions will happen as the size of the middle class grows. There's more and more urbanization. And also housing formalizes. I think a lot of housing in India today is informal housing in the smaller towns. But as people become wealthier, housing will formalize, which means the market size would become much bigger. And then what I spoke about earlier, just given that more and more people are spending time online, we will see that shift happening from offline to online, a process actually which got accelerated during COVID. Moving on, this is just a quick sort of wheel which we use to describe how we think about the market. So clearly, sort of what underpins our strategy is to build the largest audience, and you will see some data around where we've gone, from being a market challenger about 5 years ago to where we are today. But it's about building the largest audience, but not just in terms of numbers. I think quality is very important, and engagement. Because at the end of the day, if you want to drive value for your customers, it has to be on the back of an engaged and converting audience. And we believe that the best way to engage audience in a market like India, where there's a lot of mistrust, paucity of information, lack of good quality data, is how do we provide data and insights of the highest quality on a platform. So these three together sort of underpin, the flywheel which drives our business going forward. This actually is a quick sort of description of who we are. I think a lot of people, remember us from about 4 or 5 years ago or 6 years ago as being an online brokerage business. So really, we have two big platforms. One is called Housing.com, which is a classifieds business. And then we have PropTiger, which is an online brokerage. So Housing.com essentially has sort of two core businesses within itself. One is what we call the classical advertising solutions and visualization solutions for agents as well as developers, where basically the revenue model is on subscriptions. So agents buy subscription packages to put listings on our platform. And then the advertising fees, which we charge developers to list their new homes which they are selling on our platform. Then the second piece of our service on Housing.com is what we call the Housing Edge business. This comprises again of sort of two segments. One is what is called rent payment, so which basically allows tenants to pay rent to their landlords via the Housing.com platform. There's mortgages, which is sort of a first level adjacency to real estate. And then there's the whole services marketplace, which comprises stuff like packers and movers, home interiors, home services, etc. And then what we call housing DIY, as in do it yourself, is more of a peer-to-peer business where homeowners list directly on our platform and we connect them to tenants as well as home seekers who basically don't want to use the services of a broker. It's still a niche market, but we think it's a growing niche and it's an important segment to cater to. So there again, we have a mix of sort of, the revenue model. It's between sort of commission and lead generation fees, as well as subscription fees for the DIY business. The PropTiger business is a brokerage business, but again, only in the new home space. So we do not do resale brokerage, nor do we do rentals brokerage. Essentially, it's like a project marketing business. We help developers market their new launches, and we provide the consumers sort of full soup to nuts service all the way from showings, shortlisting, documentation, help them get a mortgage, but get paid by the developer a commission as a percentage of the value of the home sold. So in that sense, it's a classic project marketing business, but we run it very, very independently of Housing.com. They are sort of housed under REA India, but two very separate platforms. So this is sort of, what our sort of key strategic pillars are. And, we've been, so we sort of developed this about a couple of years ago, and we're continuing down this path and remain very, very focused on these pillars. As I mentioned earlier, I think audience leadership is key. As we always say at REA, Simon, you would know that audience is the air we breathe. So that's very clear. We've come from a distant number 3 or 4 to a number 1 in the market. But the idea is to build a clear audience leadership. And then, of course, differentiate ourselves on the back of superior consumer experiences. My fundamental belief is that for any portals business anywhere in the globe, it's very, very hard to differentiate oneself from competition. And the only way one can do it is by providing a superlative consumer experience. The second is around sort of stronger monetization in the core. We believe it's very, very important to have a very strong core business. The focus is on increasing product depth, increasing market penetration. And just given that now in India, growth is more broad-based. It's moving beyond the top 8 cities. Until 2 years ago, a lot of the growth came from the top 8 cities. But now I think it's becoming a lot more broad-based. And, the Indian economy in the first 9 months of this this financial year grew at about 8.2%. So for an economy which is bigger than 3 trillion, US dollars, 8% growth is blistering. So therefore, the growth is very broad-based, and we are seeing our markets expand beyond the top 8 cities. The other one is sort of more value for consumers. So here, this is about saying that our platform should not just be a platform for searching for a property. There's an entire home buying journey, there's an entire home renting journey, and how can we keep providing peripheral services around that journey? So what it does is it allows us to capture a higher share of wallet from the consumer. At the same time, in a business which is actually a low frequency use case business, real estate is one. It's not like Uber, which you use daily, or it's not like, some of the food delivery businesses which you use 2 or 3 times a week. Real estate, the use case is a lot less frequent. So can we build services to keep the consumer engaged throughout the year, so that when they actually think of buying or renting a home, they think of housing.com. And then I mentioned about the DIY services, which is clearly a segment of the market, especially in the younger millennials who want to transact on their own because they want to save on brokerage. On the customer side, I think a lot has been spoken about how for portal, sort of the next wave to capture more revenue would not just be through advertising dollars, but by getting closer to the transaction. So here we want to work with our broker customers to provide them other products which allows them to earn more money from our platform, and for us to engage better with them, and not only just go and sell them sort of listing packages, but also provide them with other avenues to earn money from us. And then of course, needless to say that in a sort of talent-starved market like India, we do talk about a large population, but frankly, it is a very, very tight market for high-quality talent. Ensuring that, we sort of build the #1 employer brand to attract the best talent is a cornerstone of our strategy. This is a very, it's a slide which I'm very proud of. I know when Edmund and Simon reached out to me, they said, we wanted you to talk about how you went from being a challenger to a market leader. It's very rare that, when you have strong incumbents in the market for almost 15 years, for a challenger brand to come out and get that audience leadership. Now, yes, it's marginal leadership. It's about 1.2, 1.4x of the closest competitor. But just look at where we were in December of 2019. We were half of what our closest competitors were in terms of audience. Now we are 1.4x of them. So I think a lot of that can be attributed to what we did during COVID. I think a lot of our competitors, took the foot off the pedal, because it was COVID. No one knew what the outcomes would be, where things would go to, and we took advantage of that opportunity. We spent money on brand, we continued to build product, and real estate was one of those sectors where we saw digital adoption was the slowest prior to COVID, but it was sort of forced during COVID. So more and more consumers started using online for real estate, more and more developers and agents came online. And because we were present, we captured a disproportionate share of that incremental audience which came online. So while the market itself, grew, significantly for the entire digital real estate space, we went from 5 million audience to almost 20 million, 4x, which is much higher than what the market has grown by. So I think across the board, if you look at these metrics, whether it's in terms of brand, app share, audience multiplier versus competition, I think we're in a very, very healthy position. And we do believe that we've now laid the foundation to sort of extend our growth to become clear market leader over the next few years. I think while we do have the aspirations, India is a difficult market. It is not an easy market. Just given that we have sort of strong competition, there are sort of 4 players who are equally meaningful. There is a requirement to continue to spend, money on brand. The second is because it's a highly competitive market. You have to face, competition. Not just for talent, but people are spending more and more on brand. Every quarter there is a new competitor who puts out more money. Or in order to get more market share, we see discounting happening as well. So these are sort of, market dynamics where it's very, very hard for us to continue to raise pricing as, other portals with leadership positions in other markets can do. Because it is a competitive market, and which is why it becomes imperative to drive that wedge between us and the next competitor to be able for us to sort of start having that pricing power as we go forward. And then, of course, I think the big sort of impending regulatory change, which is, the change has happened, but it's yet to be enforced, is the data privacy bill in India. And it's a very, very onerous bill. I mean, for data breaches, you can be hauled up and you have to pay a fine as high as 50 million Australian dollars for a data breach if you cannot prove that you've taken adequate care. So this again would require all portals, not just us, to make significant investments in that area. So which makes it a market where you see that most of the leading portals, are yet to break even in terms of EBITDA. From our perspective as well, we did say that FY23 for us was the year of peak EBITDA losses, and we're going to bring down losses progressively going forward. But it is within a very challenging dynamic that we're being able to do that. If you look at this, just thought I'll just share a couple of snapshots of the products we have. One of the products which, is a sort of high frequency use case product for us is this pay on credit, where consumers can actually come and pay their rent on a credit card. So in case you're facing a cash crunch in a particular month, you can use your credit card to pay your rent through our platform. And consumers pay us a convenience fee for that. We also provide personal loans to folks who want to spend money on home improvement or a renovation or stuff related to their home. Then there is sort of the entire services products where again, you can do sort of rent agreements online. It's a completely end-to-end digital process. So again, creates stickiness for the platform. And then stuff around the home buying journey or home renting journey, such as packing and moving, home interiors, as well as property management. I think it's a big service for landlords, especially ones, many Indians actually live abroad, but have homes in India. And they need someone reliable and trustworthy to manage the property for them. That's another service we offer through our platform. As of today, we offer most of these services through third-party vendors and through sort of partnerships. We don't directly provide these. But again, these are big opportunities where ultimately these could become big verticals on their own as well. And one of the things which we recently launched is called property self-verification. We did speak about, in some of the earlier presentations, how listings quality is a problem in emerging markets. And most of the portals have an issue with fake listings, duplicate listings. So we've created a product which allows brokers to self-verify the property, which gives us the conviction that they have actually visited the property and are putting up real images of the property. So that's something which has really helped us in terms of elevating the quality of listings on our platform. And then we've also created a user feedback loop. Anytime users find that the listings quality is poor, or if there's a bait and switch, people have claimed something versus what's actually out there, we get that feedback loop to inform the agent, who then is sort of forced to fix the quality of the listing. This I thought I'll just put it out there in terms of some of the new things we are seeing in India. A lot of new businesses are coming up for fractional ownership of real estate. As we know that real estate does require minimum ticket size to transact, and given that India is still an emerging market, and only about 70-80 million people are out there who can really transact, this allows people to get onto the real estate ladder with a very, very small ticket size. In fact, recent regulations have just taken place, which will make this process very convenient to kind of run entirely digitally, which I think will open up the real estate market in a big way for both sort of developers, property managers, as well as potential homeowners. The other one is around vacation rentals. I think post-COVID, as we all know, vacation rentals or second homes market has become massive. And there are lots of startups, again, who are sort of, capturing on that basic trend, which is also big in India, where folks want to buy a home in the mountains or in, beach resorts like Goa. And then iBuying, as we all know, a lot of new players in India are trying sort of nuanced version of iBuying, where they're not putting in the capital like, let's say, an Open Door does, but offering some sort of implicit guarantee and being on the hook for selling the property at a certain price within a certain time frame. We think that that's a key problem being solved for the seller, which is to sell the property at a sort of expected price within a certain time frame. None of them have really scaled up, but this is a space we watch very closely because we think that this could be potentially very big because it does solve the problem for the seller. And once you've got a seller who you're representing, then it also solves the problem of sort of non-exclusivity in the Indian market and the problem of fake listing. So I think it's a very, very interesting product. Now this is just, a slide on AI. I think, we also, got asked if, we are using AI in our business, just also given the theme of the conference here. So we believe that the use of AI to fundamentally change how search occurs is still in its early days. That's what sort of I heard again today through the conference. We just don't know which way it's going to go. Intuitively, obviously, we believe that, free text search is the way to go forward because that's how people typically end up searching. People don't use filters as much as we'd like them to. I think it's going to go in that direction. How soon, how quickly, I think jury's still out. But we do believe that there are enough use cases for AI to sort of improve, the business's productivity. One is people productivity, whether it's in terms of content generation, whether it's in terms of writing code, whether it's sort of, summarizing, listings data, etc. Again, in terms of process automation, a lot of the customer support can be automated through AI. The ability to generate virtual tours using AI. And then a lot of property and listings verification. I think most of the listings which come on our platform today are all verified through AI. And you don't need physical human beings to do that, which they did until almost, 2 years ago or 3 years ago. And then, we also heard about, better matchmaking. That's still work in progress because, as we heard one of the speakers say, that unless you don't know a lot about, the consumer, it's hard to do an exact match in real time. But again, it's something which we're getting better at, and ultimately, I think it's going to be a key driver of consumer experience. And then again, sort of, reducing churn on our platform, on our, the customer churn that we see, through sort of more predictive analytics, why someone's churning out, how could you do better to kind of, keep them engaged on the platform. And then fraud detection. I think, there is a problem in India with, people, baiting consumers with fake listings, putting scam listings, etc. But I think using AI, we've managed to bring that down significantly. So as I said, a lot of use cases for improving platform health, improving productivity. How soon is going to change the way fundamentally search occurs, I think is still some time away, and the jury is still out on that. So here are sort of some of the key takeaways. It is a big market, India. It's not the same India, which we sort of saw or was seeing, 6 years ago when I was here. Things have changed significantly. It is the fastest growing economy of its scale. It is going to become the third largest economy by 2030, as well as the third largest real estate market. A lot of digital infrastructure has been built in the country in terms of the social security number that we have, in terms of sort of the e-commerce infrastructure, the payments infrastructure. So a lot of enablers for digital businesses to thrive. Physical infrastructure build out is happening at a pace which has never happened. So massive opportunity for real estate in general, as well as for digital real estate businesses. And then look, I think one thing I wanted to kind of leave, people with was that it is a rarity for a challenger brand to kind of get to leadership position, especially when the incumbents have been around for more than a decade. We managed to do that, but it's a thin margin, the lead that we have, which one could easily lose. So the focus is on creating the best-in-class products, provide the best consumer experience to sort of keep extending that lead. And we do believe that AI can be a great enabler for growth as well as growing profitably, which is a challenge in emerging markets because we do see a lot of these portals out there where revenue growth is there, but still far away from profitability. So we think that AI, at least in the short term, can definitely help us get there. So that's sort of what I had. Happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. I'm going to have a bunch of questions. How does the self-verification of properties work? And the reason I think, and I wrote the question, but other people have agreed, is if you've got a dodgy agent verifying a dodgy property, don't you get a dodgy outcome?
No, so look, I think the way self-verification works is we've started self-verification with our sort of premium broker customers, because by definition they're paying a lot of money to be on our platform to get premium coverage and premium positioning. So they want the highest quality listing out there. And we do say that, look, if you self-verify listings and we can with conviction say that it's verified, you will get more viewings and better conversion. So they actually go to the site, take pictures which are time-stamped, also geotagged. So we know that they've gone to that particular location and taken all the pictures at that particular point in time. So that sort of adds that layer of verification. Again, you can't be 100% sure, but I think it's taken away a lot of poor quality images and fake listings are out of the equation. It's not going to be perfect, but I think it's really helped us drive the quality of our listings. And the consumer feedback that we get has also been sort of another verification loop, that most of the listings which are self-verified, we are getting very, very few complaints on those that they are fake listings or the image qualities are not in sync with what's out there in the market.
Do you put a stamp on the listing to say it's been verified?
We do.
Okay.
That's the key, yeah.
So, okay, so that goes through, there's a listing that says verified, the consumer has more confidence.
More confidence on that.
Right, so it gets more leads and so on.
Exactly.
Now, do you verify the agents?
So these are the premium agents.
Okay.
So, and they are paying a lot of money for the premium spots. If someone does, happen to be a bad apple, who's paying us a lot of money but is not really a high quality agent, then we have that consumer feedback loop.
Okay.
Where, we are constantly reaching out to consumers and saying, look, report, fake listing, fake images, property doesn't match with, what you saw, pricing was sort of a bait and switch pricing, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay.
So that sort of keeps the agents on the straight and narrow.
Okay. What are the key factors or drivers of your success on taking on the number one from number three?
Look, I think, we were very, very focused on, I would say, a single OKR pretty much for like 2 years, which was driving audience. We said that everything else will ultimately follow. So everything we did in the organization was basically driving that metric. Otherwise, what happens is that as a company, as a business, you have to focus on various things at the same time. But we said, doesn't matter if revenues don't grow, doesn't matter if other metrics don't move. We got to get to number one in audience. So, and that was done through a lot of heavy lifting on SEO, on improving app engagement. Today we are the highest rated app on both iOS as well as on Android. So really a lot of work went in doing that. And that allowed us to get to the number one position in terms of audience. And now there's a lot of focus on ensuring that the audience is engaged. So I think one of the things the only thing which we kept track of was that the audience should not be of poor quality and non-converting. So at the same time, while the audience grew, our revenues have also grown, and the number of leads which we've got for our customers has also grown at a similar pace. So it's not just audience for the sake of audience, it's also audience which is converting. But one thing I must add here is, we really benefited from COVID. Because when COVID happened, as I mentioned earlier, many of our competitors took their foot off the pedal. And we sort of doubled down at that point in time and spent a lot of money on brand building, spent a lot of money on building new products, and we did everything we could on SEO, etc. Didn't fire a single people, didn't lay off anyone. So we ran the business as if there was no COVID, and that I think really helped us, because as more and more incremental consumers and customers came online, we were the visible brand at that point in time, and thus they came to us. So that discontinuity, I think really helped us. Otherwise, all the good things we did may or may not have helped us as much had it not been for COVID.
Okay. Two last questions. How hands-on is REA headquarters and News Corp?
So look, I think they're as hands-on as I would like them to be. So in the sense, they've given us the flexibility to run the business, in an entrepreneurial fashion. I'm an entrepreneur at the end of the day, so I still run it in a very entrepreneurial fashion. We do, of course, have guardrails, knowing that we are part of a large corporation. So there are certain things which we have to do within those constraints. But they've been very good in terms of believing in our story, providing the necessary capital where needed, as well as providing the necessary know-how where needed. So anytime we come across a sticky problem, we have the ability to reach out to the experts within the REA ecosystem and get their help. And that for us is a distinct competitive advantage over other competitors who don't have that access. And Simon, you've been there, you know the journey, right? At one point in time, REA was like, where we are today. Yes. And look at where it is today. So I think that entire journey and the knowledge and the know-how from that journey is available to us on request. That's really been helpful.
Yeah. Fantastic, Dhruv. Thank you very much for sharing the information.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Thank you for doing.
Thank you.